old business I got to take care of. It's something that's been bothering me, something that's been on my mind. I got to get off my chest. My first day here, one of the first students I ran into was Michael. And he goes, "Oh, you're going to be the coach?" He goes, "Want to work out tomorrow morning?" I go, "Sure." I go, "What time?" He goes, 6 o'clock. I go, "All right." So I meet Michael over in the multi-purpose room. We roll out a mat, show him a few moves, we start drilling. Then after about 30 minutes of that, he goes, "Want to go live?" And I'm like, I'm 61. Just broke my back, fell off a tree a year ago. My back's fine, but my neck is still sore. But I'm thinking, I got to make an impression on this kid. He's one of the leaders of the team. If I look good, I've got it made. So I figured what I got to do, I got to go all out, but make it look like I'm not trying. So I went all out hard because I knew I couldn't last that long. I took him down a few times, so I'm kind of pumped up. I'm thinking I impressed him. So we're done working out, and he looks up at me and he goes, "You're pretty good." He goes, "You're pretty tough." He goes, "But Mr. Sweet's tougher." He goes, "Mr. Sweet would kick your," and he said it. Here I'm all pumped up. So I got to admit that's been bothering me a little bit. So
tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
Good, you're on the right track. So I've been scoping him out. I see him in the weight room. I peek in the window. How much weight is he lifting? I see him on a squash court. I'm just looking at his footwork, trying to see how quick he is. You know what? I think I can take him. Here's my idea. I've got an idea to raise some money for the school. This would be a great fundraiser. Here's my proposal. Tatar versus Sweet. Yes. Best of 3 falls, no time limit, no holds barred. Who would pay $5 to see Jeff Sweet in a union? All right, now you got to get down to business. Hey, you got to get business, down to business. Get serious here. I figured out, I've sat in your chair. I was like just doing a little bit of thinking, a little bit of reflecting. And I think I've been in your seat something like 36 times. First day back at school. Now, if I counted my times here and my time coaching some other schools, I've been in education 43 years. Okay, now first thing I want to ask you is, from 0 to 10, if you could rate it from 0 to 10, how excited are you to be back? How excited are you really to be back today? Like a lot of you had a summer vacation. Who was it? Joe was he had come back from Hawaii on his honeymoon. How excited is he to be back? Second question I want to ask you is, why'd you come back? That's the next question. Why'd you come back? What brought you back here? Now, the administration, you've been here all summer, you had a couple weeks break, but at least you didn't have the teachers and kids around. So how excited are you to have the faculty and student body back? So I thought about this, and I thought, you may be thinking, why am I here? Didn't he retire from teaching? I've retired a couple times. I retired from Sweet Home. Took about a year, then I got called and then asked to teach at Baker Road, taught there a little bit. Retired, got asked to teach at Area 2 BOCES. So I just wanted to tell you why I'm back. Okay, I'm back because I believe I can make a difference. I want to make a difference with people who make a difference, making a difference at a time when it makes a difference. I'm going to say that again. I want to make a difference with you, people that can make a difference. Making a difference at a time in these students' lives when it's so important to make a difference. I want to tell you, I've been in education. I told you how long. I've taught at every grade level. I actually taught pre-K. Then I taught in elementary school, K through 6. I taught at a middle school. I taught at a high school. I actually had a graduate assistantship at the University of Georgia, so I've taught at the college level. I've taught in the classroom, health, I've taught in the gym. I've met a lot of teachers, a lot of faculties, a lot of administrators. Two things I notice about the great ones. Great teachers, and I've met a lot of great teachers. Number one, they all had a heart for kids. Every single one. And they all had a passion for what they did. And I believe that passion comes from a great sense of purpose. I believe the more purpose that you have, of just knowing that you really make a difference, I believe that's what gives you your passion. I believe when everyone knows what a sweet spot is on a driver, or I believe there's one on a tennis racket, 2 minutes after Nicky, is there a sweet spot where you want to hit that ball? Well, when your passion meets your purpose, there's your sweet spot. Okay? When your purpose, that's what you've been designed to do, you've been called to do, created to do. Okay, your passion, that's what you love to do. When the two meet, okay, that's where that energy and that spark comes from. And that's one thing I want to say. First time I realized how important the school is, how important you are, and the difference you make. Again, it's a Mike story. I took Mike to wrestle in the state championship. It's held this part of the state at St. Francis. And he's in the finals, and he's totally dominating the match. He's wrestling great, and then in the semifinals, he's got the number 2 seed in the state from Fordham Prep. And Mike is totally handling him. I mean, he was up 3 points, but he was beating him worse than that. So third period, there's only like about 1:15 to go. We're up by 3 points. But then a bad thing happened. Michael hurt the kid. He hurt his opponent. His opponent took time out. And that was bad for us because it gave Michael time to think. And I said to him, Mike, you own this kid. You're in the finals. That was probably a bad thing to say because when the kid's injury time ran out, Michael went back in the match and totally made a 180-degree change. He starts stalling. Where before he was real aggressive. Every time he shot, he took this kid down. The referee goes, warning, stalling. And I'm yelling, Michael, get after him. Warning, stalling, 1 point. Michael's still backing up and running from this kid. Warning, stalling, 1 point. And I'm like, I can't even believe what's going on. 15 seconds left in the match. Oh, Michael, don't back up. Warning, stalling, 2 points. Michael lost by a point. And I'm like, I have never seen anything like this in my whole life. But see, back then I didn't know what was going on and what took place. I've been in a program since when I left here. I went back to school. And I went for 6 months. I was part of the John Maxwell University, online university. We got tons of resources online, and we have like 3 calls every week. We have access to instructors and talk to them. One thing I've learned through that, I learned about the law of the lid. Anybody in here know what I'm talking about, law of the lid? Everyone has a lid that can kind of, it's a lid on your performance. It's all how you see yourself, how you perceive yourself, the worth that you have. Let's say Michael was a 5. Let's say that's his self-image. That's his lid. And what happens, you usually just perform to that lid on a consistent basis. Every now and then you go above it, but sometimes kids will go above that and they're not comfortable there. They're above that lid and they'll actually self-sabotage. That's exactly what Mike did, and I didn't know that. So that's one thing I got out of that experience is one of the number one things we have to do in this school is raise the lid. Raise the lid on these kids. Now, that was kind of a rabbit trail. The thing I want to tell you is I go into the cafeteria and Michael's mom is in there. And I tried not to be disappointed. We drilled every morning, the whole year. Every single morning, we missed 2 days, and that was because of me, not Michael. And I think his mom could sense I was disappointed. Now, here's the thing that really showed me how special this school is. She goes, Coach Tatar, don't be disappointed. She was in tears. I get choked up thinking about it. She goes, this school gave my son hope. She said, the gal school saved my son's life. She said, it's not about a wrestling match. She goes, if you could have seen Michael just a few years ago, she said, he had no hope. She goes, I took everything out of his room, everything out of his bedroom that he could use to hurt himself. She goes, he had Venetian blinds. I took them out because of the cord. And I'm hearing this, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Whew, I lost my focus. Like Stephen Covey will say, make the main thing the main thing. What's the main thing? The main thing wasn't for Michael to be in the finals of the state championship. I lost my focus. That was my goal. That was for my pride. Because, if Michael's in that state championship, that'd make me look good. So I was disappointed. But when I talked to his mom, that just changed my whole concept of being in this school. It just changed everything. Now, if that can't get you out of bed in the morning, this school changes lives. Another story. One of the most transformed lives I've ever seen, and I've been in education 43 years. William. First time I met William, first time I remember William. Now picture this. We got a home match. We're here at Gow, and St. Francis is here. And they kind of look down at Gow like, we're just going to crush them today. And so I'm trying to make a good impression, have everything run smooth, do everything with class. And here comes William. And he starts getting ready to weigh in. He takes his shoes off, and I swear, there's an odor that permeated that locker room. It was so bad. I mean, everybody just looked. Paint was curling off the wall, peeling off the wall, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I was like horrified. I go over, I grabbed his socks and shoes, and I'm like this. I go out in the hall. I couldn't even leave it in the hall. So I went out the door by the coach's room and threw everything in a snowbank. So that was my first memory of him. One of my next memories is one time he just lost his temper. I have no idea why, but we're in practice. Did anybody ever flip you out or give you the bird? They did. I never had a kid give me the bird. But this day, Michael got mad. And I don't think he was really giving it to me, but like the whole team. He stormed out. And he runs out the door, and he turns around and goes, bitches! That cracked me up. I'm like, that cracked me up. He didn't last year. William told me all the time I'm not an athlete. I'm a nerd. I'm not a jock. I'm out here because I have to be out for a sport. Well, okay, we love you anyway, William. Still be out. We'll help you. And I think 10th grade, he left school. I think 11th grade, he left school. I think he won one match, 11th grade. He told me some bizarre stories about some of the treatment centers he'd been in, and unbelievable. But William's senior year, I've never seen anybody more transformed. His senior year, this kid is more dedicated. Okay, and he took 5th in the state, which I couldn't believe. 5th in the state. Whoever would have thought? And I even had teachers tell me, I never thought he was an athlete. But a couple of things I learned about that. A couple of things we did with William, and number one, how many had a part with Michael? How many think that you had an effect on Michael? You were part of that great testimony. Raise your hand if you think you're a part. Okay, how about for William? You know what? If you were part of this faculty, then your hand should be up in the air. Because if you're part of the gal school, you are part of that. You affect lives more than you even know. You people in here do things you don't even know now that you've done. Case in point. When I was in 9th grade, I was the littlest kid in my whole high school. I weighed 89 pounds. And the only sport I could go out was wrestling. One day I'm walking down the hall, and coming the other way is Ray Rosinski, the basketball coach. And everybody respects the basketball coach. I mean, he was like one of the most respected guys in the school. And he walked by me, and he said, "Hey, Tiger." He said, "Hey, Tiger." Now I'm walking down this hall, it's like, man, people are getting out of my way. She said, "Hey, Tiger." Think about this. That was, oh my goodness, I'm 66, so how old are you in ninth grade? That was over 50 years ago. Over 50 years ago, teacher said, "Hey, Tiger," and I still remember it. And he doesn't even know he did that. How many things have you done that you don't even know about? He don't even know he did that. You know what? I'm going to call him. Have you ever called a teacher? Who here has ever had a teacher that really influenced your life? Raise your hand. If there's a teacher or coach who impacted your life, did you ever think of calling them? I did one time. And man, I'm so glad I did. First grade, I had a real bad year, a real bad experience. I couldn't read. I was way behind everybody. I hated school. I actually used to throw up. I used to get sick. One time I threw up in class. I just hated going to school. Second grade was totally different because I had an unbelievable teacher. A lot of you have heard this story about Mrs. Avery. Well, something special about Mrs. Avery. There's just something different about her. She loved her students. And she knew that second graders weren't meant to sit in the seat all day in rows like our first grade teacher had us. We sat in that chair 5 hours. First grade boy or girl isn't meant to do that. Mrs. Avery would take us out to recess every day. I love the way she taught us our spelling. But say we had a word, spelling word, train, and she'd have us write it 5 times at our desk. We'd write it 5 times in the air. Then everyone would get up out of their seat. Every student had a ball at their desk. We'd get up out of our chair, take that ball, and then bounce it to the letters train, T-R-A-N-E, train. Remember, I was a phys ed teacher and a wrestling coach. So what do you want? She changed my life. She made second grade so fun. I learned to read, and it was one of the best years of my life. I can remember back. Now, how many years ago is this? So I thought about that. I told my daughter about her one night, and I said I never thanked her. So I went in the phone book. I looked for Avery, and I found an Avery. And I figured she's probably not alive now. You know, she was old when I had her. But I go, you never know. So I called, and I found an Avery. And I told the woman my story, how I had a second grade teacher really influence my life, and her name was Mrs. Avery. I said, would you be related? And she goes, well, I taught second grade. Who is this? I go, Ron Tater. She goes, Ronnie Tater, I remember you. So I told her what a difference she made, and I had her crying. She's crying, I'm crying. I go, oh man, I'm just so thankful that I did that. So you never know the influence you have. Okay, and I believe each and every one of you make a difference. Matter of fact, I want you to turn to someone right now and go, you make a difference. Turn to your neighbor and go, you make a difference. Now I want you to do this. I want you to do this. Turn to your neighbor and say, I make a difference. Turn to your neighbor and say, I make a difference. Okay, now I want to ask you this. Which one was harder? To turn to your neighbor and compliment them and say, you make a difference? Or to turn to your neighbor and say that you made it? Which one is harder? See, we don't believe in ourselves. We have self-limiting beliefs and doubts. You do not even realize the difference you make. You don't realize the potential you have to make a difference. A lot of you make a difference unconsciously because you're good people and you have a heart for kids. What if you were more intentional about it? What if you woke up every day and said, I'm going to make a difference? This day I'm going to have the greatest impact of everybody that I come in contact with in my life. What if you started your day like that? How many people here fly? You've flown in the last couple of years in an airplane. You know, in the little pocket in front of your seat, there's they have this magazine, and this one magazine has a series called The World's Greatest. Okay, and I'm looking at that, and it's like World's Greatest Surgeon, World's Greatest Doctor, World's Greatest Restaurant, Top 15 Steakhouses. Do you ever think about being the world's greatest? Have you ever thought about that? What would that look like? What would that be if you were world's greatest? world's greatest teacher, world's greatest mom, world's greatest dad, world's greatest neighbor. So we don't think in those terms. We think of world's greatest, we think of athletes, entertainers. Who's really more important? World's greatest. Has anybody here ever heard of the Pike Place Fish Market in Seattle? You have? Okay. Can you imagine that? They are world famous. This fish market, they sell fish. They're world's famous. People come from all over the world to watch these 12 guys peddle fish. John Maxwell, the team I'm with now, we do like speaking, coaching, training, that type of thing. We do consulting. And he has a conference every year, like a interactive conference for top CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. And when he had it in Seattle, number one, they charged $9,000 for a 4-day experience. Well, they had, I think his name's Kevin Turner, the vice president, the senior vice president of Microsoft. They had him do a talk. And then where do you think they did after that? They went to the fish market. Went to the fish market. A friend of mine who became a friend, he's one of my faculty and advisors with this Maxwell University, talked to him on a phone a lot. I just got back from 5 days in Orlando and spent some time there. And he's telling me about this. And a friend of his was visiting Seattle. He's a filmmaker from Los Angeles. And he's on vacation, and he asked the concierge, he goes, I got a day off. What should I do? Now, the concierge said, you got to go to the fish market. He told him to go to the fish market. Now, if you know Seattle, one of the biggest attractions in the Pacific North Coast is the Space Needle, correct? Anybody ever hear of that? It's like 604 feet, I don't know how many tons. This is like a world-famous attraction. The concierge didn't tell him to go there. He told him, go watch these fishmongers shovel ice and work with dead fish. Why would he do that? There's got to be something going on there at that fish market. Now, this Seattle fish market really is world famous. It wasn't always world famous, but what happened, it was going out of business. The owner sold it to one of the employees. He called in a consultant. He wanted to grow the business. And they got talking, and this consultant said, what do you want to be? And someone in the group said, let's be world famous. And everybody laughed. And this guy that was coaching them said, why are you laughing? He goes, if you believe that you could be world famous, you will be world famous. And it took him a little convincing to convince him that. So see, at first they weren't world famous. They're world famous in their head. But what they did, they started out just with an attitude, just living it first. So what they do, they'd think world famous. They'd talk world famous, they'd act world famous. And before you know it, things start happening. And they became world famous. Now, they're a fish market, okay? No, look at this school. I mean, you are already world renowned. The oldest school in the nation, the oldest school that teaches dyslexics, I believe. Is that correct? You're the oldest school. What a tradition. I can't believe the facility you have. Of all the schools I've ever been in, I've never seen a greater opportunity to make a difference in kids' lives than you have right here. Now, these fishmongers, they didn't go to work thinking they're just going to any old fish market. They went to work believing we're going to the world's best. We're going to the world's best fish market. What if you thought like that? Did you ever think of being the world's greatest or world's famous? What would it be like if you got up in the morning and go, today I'm going to be a world famous dad? See, you don't need to be world famous to everybody in the world, but to those around you that really count. That's what really counts, that you'd be world famous to them. Biggest thing I learned in the last 6 months with this course I've been in, I didn't know a lot of, I thought I knew a lot about leadership, but then I learned this. Leadership, everything rises and falls on leadership, okay? Not some of the time, not part of the time, all the time. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. The highest form of leadership is self-leadership. The highest purpose, the highest purpose of leadership is adding value to others. When I heard that, that totally changed my idea about me and about leadership. And I swear, now it's changed my day. I go through a grocery store, I'm thinking, how can I make an impact on that clerk? I want to be a world's famous customer. And I see the guy ahead of me, and this guy didn't even make eye contact with the cashier. He didn't even know she existed. He was so pre-absorbed in his own life that he didn't even have time to acknowledge her. So I'd go through and just joke around, and I made a habit of doing that. I go in to get coffee, I try to make someone's day. So anyway, I got to tell you one more story. Paul Martinelli, this guy left school in 10th grade, not because he wanted to, he was asked to. He's built 4 multi-million-dollar businesses since that. And he told this story about going out to Salt Lake City, Utah, and working with a food chain, very famous food chain. They sell chicken wings and ribs. And they want to just have a good family place where people could go get a good meal, have fun. But he said to them, he goes, did you ever consider being world famous? Because he knew about this fish market. And they go, no, not really. He goes, you don't want to be world famous? And he goes, we just sell chicken wings and ribs. If we sold steak and lobster, maybe we could be world famous, but you can't be world famous selling chicken wings. And he goes, why not? He goes, why not? Just to push back a little bit. And he goes, because it's just chicken. He goes, it was like they hit me upside the head with a 2x4. And he thought this, he goes, if you think you're just chicken, you're going to be just chicken your whole life. If you go around thinking I'm just a secretary, I'm just a maintenance worker, I'm just a teacher, I'm just a mom, I'm just a dad, I'm just a brother, I'm just a sister, I'm just a neighbor. If you think you're always going to be a just. If you think I just teach at a boarding school, I heard that was said. Someone said that. They go, I just teach at a boarding school. No, you don't just teach at a boarding school. You teach at a school that has an opportunity to change lives, to transform lives. You have an opportunity to make a difference. Now, if that can't get you excited, you must have ice in your veins, because I'm not, not too long in a weight room, Brad said to me, he goes, I don't know, we were having a conversation, and he goes, I'm going to put a hook in your mouth. And he goes, I'm just going to draw you in. And he goes, once we get you hooked, you're not going to be able to get gout in your bloodstream. And I thought, what's he talking about? Do you remember that?
I do.
And I swear, I didn't know. That was prophetic. Because why am I back here? All these courses I've been taking, learning how to connect. I took a course. Everyone communicates, few connect. And I'm learning all these ways you can connect with kids. And what am I thinking? I'm thinking, my goodness, Gal could use this. Half the stuff I learned, I'm thinking, man, these teachers at Gal need to hear some of this stuff. And then when I heard that thing about world's famous, I think, holy cow, if a fish market could be world famous, what could this school do? I mean, how far of a reach is a fish market to be world famous? It's not that far of a stretch for this school to be the world's best, right? Or the world's famous. Think about that. So this fish market, number one, I got to check the time. I got to get going. What do I have, like 3 minutes? Okay, how did this fish market do it? And I wrote that they had some simple principles, which I was going to share with you, but I lost them, but I remembered them. And the beauty is they're simple. You don't need any special education, no special training. You need a decision that I'm going to make the greatest impact I can today on everybody I come in contact with. And so they have 4 principles. The first principle is be there. When you go by that fish market, you cannot walk by without them engaging you. Okay, they're going to make eye contact. They're going to come up and talk to you. And they're genuinely interested in you, even if you're not buying fish. They're going to go, where are you from? Are you on vacation? Are you with your family? They're going to truly be interested. So they be there. Few days, you're going to have students show up. How can you be there for them? How are you going to be there for them? Okay, the next one, which I don't have, but I can remember them. Let's see. Make their day. Okay, they make your day, and they do it through entertainment. These guys put on a show. Someone's buying fish, and all of a sudden, someone in the back of the market, wings of fish, and you hear incoming. They throw that fish, and here's the guy, catches it in a wrapper, wraps it. They got someone with an ugly-looking octopus chasing a lady around the fish market. She's like, oh, no, and they just put on a show. They make it fun. They make it an experience. They try to make it an enjoyable experience. How could you do that? I think back different things I've seen in the school. Sometimes, one of the first times I ever came here, first thing I thought, I saw all these kids dressed up in a tie, but they looked like they're just walking like zombies. Oh my goodness. Then I remember a day, we're all in the dining hall, and something happened. The soccer team's playing, and they just scored a goal to tie it up. And Brad yells, "We scored!" And the whole school runs over, and they're looking out the window, they're all excited. Now, a lot of people would frown upon that. Sit down, you can't. But you know what? That made their day. It made their day. So anyway, I guess I'm running out of time, so I got to wrap this up. Nobody sitting here is perfect. Okay? We can't help everybody, but you can help somebody. Okay, we may not be able to change the world, but you can make a difference in your world. So that's my challenge. And my whole idea for being here today is hopefully to give you a greater sense of purpose. And I had you think of a number in the beginning. What was the number you thought about coming back? Okay? If I raise that number, if this little talk in 30 minutes, raise that number, even one, I did my job. If you even one day, and I challenge you to do this, get up and start your day different. Get up and say, today I'm going to make a difference. Today I'm going to be there for somebody. Today I'm going to make someone's day. Okay? Today, the other two things were play and choose your attitude. I didn't say that. But it was be there, make their day, play, choose your attitude. We choose your attitude. How are you going to show up every day this year? Are you going to show up complaining and gossiping and whining? Because what that does, that pulls everybody down. It just sucks the energy out of everybody. But on the other hand, you have the power in your tongue. You have the power of life and death. You can talk to someone, you can pump them up. You can uplift them. Ever been around someone that when you leave, you just feel energized? Other people you may be around, you just feel drained. Be a person that's going to add value to everybody you come in contact with. And what's going to happen, when you make someone's day before you know it, your day is going to change. And you're going to feel a whole lot better. You're going to have a whole lot more passion about teaching here at the Gal School. So that's it, and I was supposed to leave 3 minutes to show that 3-minute clip, but I guess we'll have to do that another. We got time?
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Okay, let me tell you just really quick. You might think, we all have self-limiting beliefs. I can't do this, I can't be a great teacher. Anybody ever hear of Life Without Limbs? Nick Vujicic? Well, I just got 3 minutes. Now, he's talking to, I think, a private girls' school.